Let's talk about sponsored content, what it is, why you need it, and how it works. I'm Jane Singer, and welcome back. So, first, what is sponsored content anyway? Well, sponsored content is just essentially a rebranding of what we used to call advertorials back in the day. Essentially, it's a hybrid between editorial and advertising. The editorial side of it is the fact that it's typically an article about your company, about your product, about your service, about anything you want it to be. Written by you. In some cases, you have somebody else write it, but it's written as an editorial article, but you're paying to have it published. Now, you might ask yourself, that's an interesting concept, but why would anybody want to do that? After all, couldn't we just write that up as a press release and just send it into publications or email it to our customers? Well, a lot of people would look at it from that point of view. The reason why savvy marketers, why when you see the big brands or anyone who's really on their game in marketing is actually paying for sponsored content is because they want to have priority positioning and a guarantee that it's going to run. Now, when you do PR, you might say to yourself, yes, but it's free. Well, it's free, but free has a cost. You can send it around to as many publications as you want. They may choose to run it. They may choose to not run it. It's up to them, right? At the same time, even if they decide to run it, they're going to take what from that story or that article, that press release, whatever it is that you've sent in, and they're going to cut it down and possibly rewrite it. And they're going to present that story as they see fit. They're going to emphasize the things that they want. They're going to cut out anything that they think is not important. But some of those things are things you might think are important. You may want to focus on some of the new features that you've added to your product. The person who's writing it on editorial might actually be more interested in your new data center. So it's really up to them. Once you send something into editorial, it is their way, not your way. And I think it's really important to understand that when you look at editorial from their point of view, it's not the same objectives as yours. Your objective is to get visibility for your product or your service or your brand. Theirs is to build reader engagement, viewer engagement with their audience. They want watch time, they want click through, they want open rates, they want all of these kind of things. Those are the KPIs that solid media lives and dies by. You want to keep that in mind. Their objectives are not your objectives. So I think that when people in the PR industry come around and try and tell you that you're being foolish for paying for things when you can just pay them to send in your press release, that's laughable in a sense, because if you're having to pay a PR person, it's actually not free. So that bears some consideration. The thing is, editorial is sitting there looking to see what is going to move the needle forward on the KPIs that they're measured by. So you have to understand that when you are sending something in as a press release, you are taking a chance as to whether it's going to run, and if it does run, whether it's going to run the way you want it to be. So what people do when they want to be able to literally control the narrative is they go for sponsored content, which is sometimes referred to as native content. And the reason why is because you simply pay a fee to get that article published. You want to be in this particular publication, you pay and get the article published. You want to be on this particular newsletter, you simply pay and have it published. You want to be in some video program, you pay for product placement or whatever you want to call it. So you pay, you get what you want. And that is really, really critical, because otherwise you are just taking a chance with your marketing. Now, the other thing is, like I said, when you're doing sponsored content, you control the story. It's your story, your way. You're providing them with the editorial content. The publication is just running it. And I use publication, but I mean magazines, newsletters, video shows, every possible form of media. But it's easier just to use one word. So you're providing that, and they are simply reproducing what you've already done. It's told from your point of view. It emphasizes the things that you want to emphasize. They do not change that editorial content. And that's really, really important. Having that control over the story enables you to speak to your audience the way you want to speak to them, and in the depth that you want to speak to them, and covering all the key points that you want to cover. So that's really a game changer. It's not just big companies being stupid and spending money for the sake of spending money. Not at all. It is very well thought out. There are reasons why, and many times why companies would prefer to do advertorial than editorial because they want to control that narrative. So you want to really think about it from that point of view instead of just saying, this is cheap, this is free, must be good, and this costs money, so, oh, that must not be good. Realistically, when you are trying to get PR, you are at the back door with everybody else in a huge queue begging for crumbs. You're saying, please mention my product. Please run something about my product. Please give me this much space in your publication, in your magazine, in your newsletter. Mention me on your video show. Crumbs. When you're going for sponsored content, now you are coming in through the front door. You are a customer. You are paying for one of the services that that media outlet provides. That's a very different position to be in. You need to think about from the point of view of building your brand, growing your sales, where do you want to be? Another important point of sponsored content is that you're able to reach this audience, an audience that you want to reach, an audience that has been pre-vetted, you might say. And at the same time, you're not having to build your own platform. So a lot of times people will say, well, if I already have this written up, why don't I just like email this around to all the people on my mailing list, right? I could post it on social media. I could mail it into publications. But the thing is, you want to reach an audience that's bigger than your audience, right? You want to be able to be guaranteed to reach that audience, and you don't want to have to build all these things yourself. So when you are using sponsored content, when you have a sponsored article on a newsletter, in a magazine, or wherever, you basically are riding the train rather than trying to be the train. The train is already going where you want it to go. They already have an audience of people who keep coming back because they like the editorial content. They have an audience of people who trust them, who know them, who like them. And now you're simply putting your article in with that, but in a highly visible position. People will open the newsletter, they'll start reading the newsletter, and then sooner or later they come to the article about your company and they'll read it and continue on. And you're not having to go out there and first build the platform, so to speak. So that's another important point. And it's another reason why smart companies are going with sponsored content. Now, there's another point, and this is a really critical point, and that is that when you are using PR, you're sending in whatever article it is, you're hoping someone will pick it up, and let's say they do. Let's say you get lucky. Let's say, wow, somebody really loves what you sent in, and they're not only going to mention your product or have a small blurb about your product, they're actually going to have something bigger. Wow, right? You feel I made bank, right? I really scored something. But in the end, that still is less of a win than sponsored content. Why? Because in sponsored content, you can build in links that link back to your website, that link maybe to an article with more details, that link to specifications about your product. You can have a contact form in there. You can do whatever you want with it, right? It's sponsored, it's yours. When you have editorial, why would someone put all those links in, right? They take the editorial, make it look like it's an advertisement. That's not exactly a win for anybody. So you want to be able to think about that. Okay, I got people to see my sponsored content. I got people to read my sponsored content. Where do they go from here? Well, okay, they learned about my product. That's really good. And they understand more about it because they read the article. But you can build in something that enables that person to go further with you. And that's huge. That's a massive amount of opportunities for conversion. So as we've been discussing, sponsored content is a powerful tool that helps you build awareness, credibility, and leads for your product or service. The good news is that right now, sponsored content is basically undervalued. In other words, it's priced less than what it's worth. There's a lot of opportunities to be had in the market at the moment at an actually very attractive price. If you look around your industry, your niche, your market, you might be surprised to find what opportunities are there for you to be able to do sponsored content, like I said, at an affordable price. Even if I look at our own sponsored content packages, they're quite affordable at the moment. I mean, we're talking hundreds, not necessarily tens of thousands. And whatever we're doing, believe me, other people are doing similar things. So it pays to do a little looking around, see what pricing might be like, see if it's something that would work for you. Maybe not this moment. Maybe it's something you want to just think about, consider, but just, keep it within your radar because it's something that you can do that gives you a huge stage to be able to talk to your audience, to engage with your audience, and to build that really critical know, like, and trust that drives sales for any product. Now, you're probably wondering, how do you write sponsored content? That's a whole nother topic. We'll dive into that in a different video. For now, I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I wanted you to become aware of it and understand that this is just one more opportunity that you can take advantage of in a highly competitive market where it's really difficult to get attention, where social media is very difficult to win on. So give this some thought. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer questions, to talk to you, to discuss what you're doing. There should be a link below for sending in inquiries. Like I said, I will look at every one of them. And thank you so much for being here. I wish you tremendous success.